the fear of being replaced by youth, the fear of no longer being desired, of losing relevance. So he starts performing. He starts talking about what he's achieved, how much he's seen, what he owns, what he knows. He tries to prove that he's still got it. And every time he does that, something powerful inside him starts to fade. Because the moment you seek to prove your worth, you hand over your power to someone else's opinion. You see, a young woman isn't attracted to an older man because he tries to act young. She's drawn to him because he doesn't. Because his energy is calm in a world full of chaos. Because he's not chasing attention. He commands it effortlessly. His maturity isn't loud, it's magnetic. It's in the way he pauses before he speaks, the way he listens, not to respond, but to understand. The way he doesn't need to rush, because he knows timing is everything. When an older man starts chasing youth, he stops leading with presence. He begins to mimic, to adjust, to fit in. And that's when the dynamic loses its natural harmony. A young woman doesn't want a reflection of her own energy. She wants contrast. She wants a man who stands in his own frequency, firm, unbothered, self-assured. That's where attraction deepens. Not in sameness, but in polarity. So when you try to prove your worth, what you're really doing is telling her you doubt it. And women, especially younger women, can feel that doubt. They sense when a man is confident versus when he's compensating. They might smile, they might entertain the conversation, but energetically, they've already decided you're not the leader in this dynamic. A mature man doesn't need to chase approval. He understands that attraction is not about performance. It's about alignment. He knows that what truly draws people in isn't perfection, but authenticity, because authenticity carries energy. It has gravity. It makes people lean in without even realizing why. And that's the beauty of masculine maturity. It's quiet but undeniable. It's the stillness in a storm. The calm that says, I've seen enough of life to know what matters. You don't have to compete with youth, because your edge is depth. You've lived what she's only beginning to imagine. You've turned mistakes into wisdom, heartbreak into understanding, and pressure into purpose. That is value, and no performance can replicate it. But that only shows when you stop trying to prove and start simply being. When you allow your silence to speak louder than your achievements. When you show restraint instead of desperation. When you respond with grace instead of insecurity. That's when your energy shifts from trying to impress to naturally inspire. It's not about showing her how experienced you are. It's about showing her how centered you've become through those experiences. Because real power is not about dominance. It's about direction. It's about knowing who you are and standing rooted in that truth, no matter who walks into the room. When a man reaches this level of self-possession, something extraordinary happens. He no longer needs to chase attraction. He becomes attraction. His presence carries a sense of emotional safety. His words hold weight because they come from reflection, not reaction. His demeanor makes her feel both curious and calm, and that combination is rare. So, if you are an older man, remember this. Don't compete with her youth. Complement it with your depth. Don't try to match her energy. Guide it with your stillness. Don't prove your worth. Live it through your presence. Because the woman who truly sees you won't be impressed by how much you can do. She'll be moved by how effortlessly you can be. And that's the truth most men miss. Women don't fall for the man who tries the hardest. They fall for the man who knows who he is. Because that kind of confidence, that quiet certainty, isn't just attractive. It's unforgettable. Closing statement. When you stop performing and start embodying, you shift from seeking validation to commanding respect. Remember, youth fades, but depth only grows richer. Be the man who doesn't chase to be noticed. Be the one whose presence cannot be ignored. When a younger woman connects with an older man, what she subconsciously looks for isn't a mirror of her own emotions. It's a reflection of emotional control, She's not drawn to drama. She's drawn to direction. She wants to feel that the man she's with can hold space for her emotions without being consumed by them. Because when a man reacts impulsively, argues to prove a point, or gets offended easily, he doesn't appear strong. He appears fragile. True strength is emotional steadiness, not emotional silence. Many older men misunderstand this balance. They think being calm means being distant, or that showing emotion means losing power. But wisdom isn't cold. It's warm, centered, and discerning. The difference lies in awareness. Knowing when to speak and when to pause, when to correct and when to listen. And most importantly, knowing that silence is not weakness, it's sometimes the loudest form of strength. When a woman feels emotionally heard, and she feels safe, and safety is the foundation of attraction. It's not built through constant reassurance or emotional withdrawal. It's built through consistency. If you can remain grounded when she's emotional, patient when she's uncertain, and respectful when she's distant, you create an energy of reliability that very few men can offer. That's where respect grows. You see, emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering them. It's being able to express disappointment without anger, to share vulnerability without collapsing into self-pity. It's a fine balance between compassion and composure. A man who possesses this balance doesn't have to raise his voice to be heard. His calmness alone commands attention. His presence feels like a steady rhythm in a world full of noise. When you embody that steadiness, something subtle happens. She starts to open up more. She feels safe expressing her insecurities because she senses that you won't weaponize them. She feels comfortable sharing her truth because she knows you won't judge her for it. And in that moment, attraction deepens beyond physical appeal. It becomes emotional resonance. But here's the truth many men miss. Emotional stability isn't built overnight. It's cultivated through self-awareness, reflection, and restraint. You can't control another person's behavior, but you can always control your reaction to it. And your reaction defines how the relationship evolves. When you respond with understanding instead of ego, with patience instead of pride, you change the entire tone of the connection. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or being passive. It means holding your boundaries with quiet confidence. When you know your worth, you don't need to shout it. You just live it. You communicate from a place of calm authority, not emotional chaos. Because the moment a man loses control of his emotions, he also loses control of the dynamic. Women, especially younger ones, pay deep attention to how a man handles conflict. When you can stay composed while still being compassionate, she starts to view you as someone capable of leadership, not control. That's the emotional distinction that creates admiration. You lead not by dominating, but by being an example of maturity she can trust. And this is why emotional regulation is such a powerful form of attraction. It signals that you're not driven by impulse. You're guided by intention, that you've learned from life, not been defeated by it, that your emotions don't control you. They serve you. And that emotional mastery is something most people crave, but very few truly embody. When a woman feels that steadiness from you, she naturally leans in. She becomes more feminine in your presence because she doesn't feel the need to protect herself emotionally. Your composure gives her permission to relax, to be expressive, to be open. And that, right there, is the heart of masculine energy. Not dominance, but direction, not control, but calm confidence. In relationships, the man who can master his emotions often becomes the man who holds the relationship together, not through force, but through presence. Because presence is power. It says, no matter what happens, I'm still grounded. I won't be shaken by your moods, your tests, or your distance. That emotional neutrality is not cold. It's deeply reassuring. It tells her, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to understand you. So, when you find yourself in moments of tension or emotional pull, remind yourself, the person who maintains composure always holds influence. Let your calmness be your confidence. Let your stillness be your strength. Because emotional control isn't about pretending not to feel. It's about feeling deeply, but choosing wisely. Closing statement. When you learn to master your emotions instead of letting them master you, you step into a different level of power. The kind that doesn't chase, doesn't prove, and doesn't waver. Remember, a man who can stay calm in the storm doesn't just survive the chaos. He becomes the peace others are drawn to. One of the greatest mistakes older men make when connecting with younger women is trying too hard to impress, rather than allowing their natural wisdom and confidence to speak for them. Many men, especially those who've achieved success or gathered life experience, believe they need to prove that they're still desirable, still young, still on the game. But the truth is, the moment you try to prove your worth, you subconsciously announce that you doubt it. Real confidence doesn't seek validation. It radiates from inner certainty. You see, younger women are often drawn to older men not because of their age, but because of what age represents: stability, emotional depth, and the kind of maturity that doesn't need attention to feel important. When an older man carries himself with quiet confidence, when he speaks less, but with purpose, when his actions align with his words, that's what captivates her. She senses his energy before he even says a word, and that's something no amount of charm, youth, or style can replicate. But when an older man begins to overcompensate by flaunting his success, chasing attention, or trying to compete with younger men, he loses the very quality that makes him different. He starts blending in instead of standing out. Because what truly separates an older man from the rest is not what he has, but what he's learned to live without. A younger man might need validation. A grounded man values peace. A younger man might chase admiration. A wise man chooses alignment. That is the quiet authority that draws a woman in deeper than looks ever could. Women notice authenticity faster than most men realize. They can sense when a man's confidence is real and when it's performed. When an older man embraces his age instead of resisting it. When he speaks with presence instead of pressure, it signals to her subconscious that he is secure. He doesn't need to compete because he already knows who he is. That's emotional sophistication. And it's irresistible. Let's be honest. There's something magnetic about a man who is comfortable in his own silence. He doesn't rush to fill every gap in conversation. He doesn't need to dominate the room. He's selective with his energy because he understands its value. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. It's the calm assurance that comes from living long enough to know that validation from others fades, but peace within yourself lasts. When a younger woman encounters that energy, she feels something unfamiliar yet safe. It's the kind of presence that doesn't demand her attention. It earns it. And once she feels it, she can't forget it. Because deep down, what every woman seeks isn't just excitement, it's emotional grounding. She might flirt with thrill, but she stays with depth. Now, emotional confidence doesn't mean being detached. It's not about acting indifferent or distant. It's about being fully present without being needy. It's listening to her, not to respond or impress, but to understand. It's expressing yourself clearly, but not constantly. It's leading with patience, not pressure. In a world full of men chasing attention, the one who doesn't need it stands out effortlessly. An older man's real power comes from his ability to be secure in both silence and rejection. Because when you've lived long enough, you understand that not every connection is meant to last, and not every attraction is meant to be chased. You stop trying to be chosen and start choosing what aligns with your peace. That mindset not only protects your energy, but also magnifies your value. It's the emotional maturity that says, I don't need to prove I'm enough. I already know I am. And when a woman senses that kind of presence, something shifts in her. She starts to admire the way you carry yourself, the way you stay calm under pressure, and the way you never let ego lead your actions. You become a mirror of stability in her emotional chaos. You don't try to fix her, you just allow her to feel safe around you. And that's where deep emotional attraction begins. This is why composure and self-assurance are not just attractive, they're magnetic. They communicate something words never could: emotional intelligence. They say, I've been through enough storms to no longer chase the wind. And that level of inner stillness makes a woman see you not as an option, but as a presence she can't easily replace. So when you find yourself around a younger woman, don't